This is Unfiltered, presented by Youth of MCC.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How are you guys doing today? My name is Jamal.
It's Masani.
My name's Maz.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Omer Lateef.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, we have Umer on the podcast today as a guest speaker. Umer, do you want to give a brief introduction?
Yeah. First of all, Jazakallah khairan for having me. Big honor. So I was born and raised in Lincolnwood my whole life. I went to Todd Hall, Rutledge Hall, Lincoln Hall. I did the whole jam. Went to Niles West High School. Over there, I was the president for the MSA club. Then they used to call it Quran study for 2 years. After that, I went to DePaul University, and I'm currently the educational coordinator for the DePaul Ummah MSA. Alhamdulillah, between that, I got a chance to go study at Darussalam Institute in Lombard, Illinois. And I studied there for 2 years, Islamic studies, and I studied in the Tanweer program. So alhamdulillah, it was a great opportunity to do that as well. And alhamdulillah, I work with you, Jamal, and Mohammad at MEC Big Pie, and alhamdulillah, I got a chance to teach a Sirah class on Sundays. So, this is my moment to plug it. So please join the Sirah class Sundays, 2 p.m. Youth of MCC. bit.ly/bit.ly/Sirah class.
There it is. Yeah.
Shout out Saranti.
Shout out Saranti for real. All four of us actually go to DePaul, which is awesome. And Umer is also on board for Ummah, as you mentioned. So that's awesome. Ramadan Kareem, everyone. Our last episode that we dropped it in Ramadan, but when we were recording it, it was outside of Ramadan. So we want to officially wish you guys a happy Ramadan. May the blessings be upon you. And that being said, I want to ask a question to everyone. How's you guys' Ramadan been going? What have you guys been doing? How's it been during quarantine?
Definitely one of the weirdest Ramadans so far. But I guess when I'm saying it's weird, it's definitely not bad. I guess you have so much more time to spend with your family, and I guess you have more time to do everything that you always put off, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, but in the past Ramadans, I would always say, like, I'm going to get one Quran done this year. But I'd find some kind of excuse, like, I'm working, I'm going to school. But now I'm waking up, I may be working, I may not be working. I've got so much time. I'm loving it. It's been great. I feel like it's given me a lot more time to just focus on everything instead of just do this, do that, rush through this, rush through that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, just because the aspect of not being able to go into the masjid is definitely something that's, like, probably all of us are just like not okay, right? Because we've grown up always trying to go to the masjid, every single day if we can, even like each salah. But just being at home is definitely something that I find is also important, just because, again, as you said, like, being able to just read the Quran, like, even for me myself, like, I have been trying to just practice as many surahs as I possibly can, and it's something that I've never been able to do, or at least, like, never thought to do, because of, again, all the time, not having enough time to do it. So you can definitely take the certain blessings you can with the quarantine.
Man, you hit it on the point. We do have a lot more time now. The excuse every other Ramadan was we didn't have enough time, but that excuse doesn't seem like it's going to slide anymore. It's going to be a big, this whole Ramadan is going to be a big evaluation of, where we're going with our lives and what this Ramadan means to us, because obviously it's the most unique Ramadan I've experienced in my life. I think you guys could agree, right?
And our parents too, dude. Honestly,
yeah.
Like, anyone you ask, like, this has never happened. Like, not even having tarawih in the masjid, like, that's pretty crazy. Congregating for iftar with, like, friends.
Yep.
Like, you have your immediate family, which is awesome, but, like, friends and all that.
Family parties, family iftars, like, none of that.
Going out for suhoor with the boys.
Yeah, man. The Divan runs.
The
Garib runs, dude. Oh my god. Shout out Charminar for real.
Yeah, hey, restaurant 6350 North Campbell Avenue, Divine Campbell, right by Jamia Masjid. Hyderabadi food. It's stop by if you mention my name, Omer. Inshallah, one of my aunties is gonna be there. They'll hook it up, inshallah.
Their chicken rolls are amazing.
Yeah, dude, 100% chicken 65. Go for it.
Yeah. That being said, let's transition into our topic for today. I'm super happy to have Omer here as well as everyone else. But our topic, as we mentioned last week's episode, is culture versus Islam in reference to evidence in specific. And there's so many different things that go into that. It's a really, really thick topic. We need to define Islam. We need to define culture. And something I want to start off with is just, like, what is culture? Like, that question. Like, how do we define culture? It could be individual for everyone. It could be broad. But what would you guys say culture is?
For a lot of us, culture is kind of a way of life. in a lot of ways, whether it be your Islamic culture, your American culture. For those of us that were raised here, there's things that we may normalize that our parents, or if you have older siblings that were born back in like Pakistan, India, wherever, they may not normalize, right? So culture for everyone is different, but it's because of your upbringing and the things that we may normalize, the things that I may think are okay or appropriate. That's not what maybe Umar or Maz even think are appropriate, even though we're around the same age.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Culture is just, I mean, culture, I think is defined by like the people that are around you, right? I feel like the people, the things that you do, the society in general, is kind of what makes up culture to us.
What would like separate it? It's like, so like we're saying culture versus Islam, right?
Right.
We're saying culture. Musani said it's like a way of life. It's the way you live. Islam's supposed to be a way of life. So those two things intersect in a way. But then there's like so many different things in Western culture in specific that goes like against Islam, a lot of things for Islam, and then there's like back home culture. So I guess like from like a brief background, if you guys want to give like a brief background on your experience with culture, how you guys have been raised compared to people around you.
Yeah, so, man, I come from a family of immigrants from Hyderabad, India. And to be honest, my mom actually passed away the beginning, August 31st of 2019. So not too long ago. And I don't think she even knew how to speak proper English up until like a couple months before she passed away, which was that's just how she was. But alhamdulillah, I was born here, raised here. From the beginning, I would say that culture was a big part of my life, from like the food we eat to the celebrations we do. Man, I could go on and on. But at the same time, I feel like being in the United States had a major part to play in it. One question that I asked my mom, like 2 weeks before she passed away was, man, I'm getting really deep real quick, but one question I asked her was, hey, if you had an option, and this is like literally 2 weeks before she passed, she was terminally ill with cancer at this point, and I asked, if you had an option, you were born in a place called Alumpur, India. It's village 8 hours away from Hyderabad, and it's like they didn't even have electricity until she was like 5 or 6 or something. And my mom doesn't, like, you could say she would be considered illiterate. And, she came from that, and she lived in America since 1990, and she raised a family here. And I asked if you had an option, where would you want to live? If you could go back and live in India your whole life, would you do that, or would you live here? And she said, no, I want to live in the United States. This is my home. This is where I brought up my family. This is where I'm from. This is my people. So, I feel like there's a big thing between, there's a big relation between my Hyderabadi culture with American culture, and then, inshallah, the conversation is going to go on about Islam.
I think that's powerful, just out of the aspect that people always associate culture with where you're born, right? So for me, I was born in Pakistan. We moved when I was really young. So I would say like around 2, I moved here. If you guys know where Khan Building is, I was raised in Khan Building. If you're really OG, you know what it is. But that uptown neighborhood, super diverse, right? And then moving to Niles West, like this area, more diverse. So for me, like, I would never say that I really knew what my Pakistani culture was, the basics of it. But when you're born there versus being raised here, completely different ballgame. And then there's stuff that maybe I saw here. Like, okay, I don't know what it is with brown guys, but did you guys ever want like a tattoo growing up? No, nobody?
I can honestly say no.
Really?
Yeah. I've actually always hated
The
tattoos.
only thing like tattoo wise, it's like a sleeve, just because like recent Western culture is like it's like dope, right? But like
Yeah.
other than that, it hasn't really been my thing.
Dude, I don't think it was ever my thing, but I would always look at it and be like, yo, that's so cool, right? So I would always be like, damn, I kind of want a tattoo. And then, of course, like, you get set straight. But it's like Western culture, that's dope, you're really cool, like, you're up there, it's different. And then you go back to, like, your Pakistani culture, your Indian culture, your Islamic roots, and it's like, what are you thinking?
See, I really like what you did there. So you really tied, like you said, back to your Pakistani culture, Islamic culture, as if Pakistani Islamic culture ties, and then like Western culture doesn't. So that's like an interesting note to keep.
I mean, for me, so my perspective is definitely different, just because for me, my dad is from Pakistan, Muslim. My mom is from India, from Kerala, the south side of Kerala, which is Catholic, right? So for me, that those two worlds, those two cultures just clashing is definitely, it was definitely a huge, like, just growing up, having that perspective and, understanding the religion, both religions. Like I grew up Muslim and, but just being a Muslim and then also appreciating the other religion, right? The Catholic side. And then also the whole Catholic culture in general, just being able to, I wouldn't celebrate Christmas, but again, I would appreciate them celebrating Christmas. And growing up in America, right, you see Christmas and everything, Christmas, like Hanukkah, things like that, they're all over, they're everywhere, right? Like you go to a store, who Santa is, you see all these, different things with that and that, with Christianity. So just seeing that side of everything is definitely interesting, and then just growing up with that, it takes a dude. I don't know. I'm tweaking out right now. I'm like going in circles.
No, you're good.
No, I feel you. You kind of
Okay.
grow on it, right?
Yeah.
Like Christmas is important to you, but you don't even celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
You
right.
still got the tree in your house though,
no, I
and
didn't
the lights
agree.
going. No.
No, that was my cousin's house. That was
Oh,
my
I
cousin's
bet, for
house.
sure,
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
we wouldn't do that at my
Yeah.
house. But
On like the flip side, like I was born and raised here, and my parents, like my mom was born in Pakistan, but she was raised here. My dad was born and raised here, and I went to public school my whole life. So I've had like that Western culture embedded in me, in a sense. But I've also really held on to like my spirituality throughout that time, whether that's through Sunday school or like grandparents or even just parents. Like they've found like a really good way to keep that line separated, where like it wouldn't intersect. But Umar, I'd really love to know, like from like an Islamic perspective,
Yeah.
what do you think? What does Islam have to say about culture, whether it's in like Hadith, Quran? Like, what would be the perspective? Is Islam supposed to be embedded in culture, right? Or is it supposed to be separated? I guess that's something that we could all
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
and answer to.
I guess even like aspects of it. Like, do you think there are things that we culturally do that we're not supposed to, that Islamically it's kind of against? Like, I know a lot of people say, like, when it comes to weddings, right? Like having those big extravagant weddings, and Islamically, like, you really only need to have like the nikah and then you're good to go.
This is a good part where I could talk about this one ayah of the Quran. There's an ayah in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, says, وَجَعَلَ لَكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. We have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us that we have created, وَجَعَلَ لَكُمْ, and He has created us for you, شُعُوب in nations, وَقَبَائِلَ in tribes, لِتَعَارَفُوا, to meet, to you could say to congregate, to, I mean, when these words like ta'aruf, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Urdu ta'aruf. Ta'aruf. What does ta'aruf mean?
Yeah, Basani.
Mo?
Said no, I'm not familiar.
Oh yeah,
Boy, in Pakistan, huh?
This is a good part to reintroduce that I left when I was 2.
Ta'aruf kind of is like familiar, to make familiar with, to become familiar with. So ta'rif means to, if you're doing ta'rif of someone, you're like letting them know, okay, this is Abdullah, he's from here, he does this and that. Now, now this word is brought into a different, it's called a different baba. So it comes from tafa'ul. And tafa'ul gives the more meaning of things, things happening between two people. So it's just not one side is doing it, but multiple nations, multiple tribes are coming together and meeting and congregating and learning from each other. Now, the big question that people always ask is, what is Muslim identity? What is culture? Things like that. So I want to start with this. What do you guys define as being a Muslim? What is Muslim identity?
I mean, I would say like the Shahada, right? The Kalima, believing in Prophet ﷺ,
Yeah,
the
the
Quran,
five
praying, believing in Allah Himself.
Right. Just believe. I mean, practicing doing all five pillars of Islam, right? That's one of the main things. Like, and all that stuff. But on top of that, just like your own deen, your own spirituality, just having that sense, like always within yourself, right? And you have to believe it within yourself. Like, let's say, Ramadan, right? People, you fast and that. Everyone fasts. Everyone tries to pray as much as they can. But if you are being forced to do something like that, then it's like you're getting away from what Islam is, right? Like, it has to be something intrinsically that you want to do. So I think that is something that, like, if you have it in yourself, your own belief, then that is who you are, right? Like, you can't just say you're a Muslim because you were born Muslim. Like, for me, like, just because my dad is Muslim doesn't mean I'm like, I wouldn't consider myself Muslim just because of that, right? I consider myself Muslim because how I feel about Islam, what I know about Islam. So yeah.
Now my follow-up question is, what does it exactly mean to be a Muslim?
La ilaha illallah Muhammadur
La
Rasulullah.
ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So when you read the Shahada, what are you doing?
You're stating you're a Muslim.
You're submitting, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we're submitting to Allah. We're in full submission. We're saying that we're we're kind of leaving behind everything else and we're becoming a part of this new entity. So, I mean, this is a long conversation, but I'm going to do my best to not beat around the bush. I'm just going to say this straight up, and then I think this is going to be a good conversation. So, and to figure this out and navigate it, it'll be an interesting conversation as well. So, when it comes to culture, first of all, there's nothing wrong with culture. Culture, right? قَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. People come from different cultures, different races. Why did Allah create us in different cultures and different races? So we could come meet together, right? We could learn from each other. This was a common practice during the time, of the Prophet ﷺ. Like, it wasn't that the Arabs just stuck to their Arab culture and they didn't do anything else. For example, the Prophet ﷺ during the Battle of the Trench, the Battle of Khandaq, also known, they didn't know how to protect the city. So Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu, one of the companions of the Prophet, he was originally from Persia. He suggested, the people from where I'm from, they dig trenches. Why don't we dig a trench? And the Prophet ﷺ accepted that advice. Another example is the Prophet ﷺ was given a thobe from Egypt. He was gifted a thobe. And it's really interesting. The thobe actually had a hood on it. So, those thobes with hoods, if you wear that, if you literally wear a hood with the intention that you want to follow the sunnah, you are following the sunnah.
I thought it was cool, but all right.
Yeah, man.
Those are nice.
Hoodie can be a part of the sunnah, man. So, what I'm trying to basically show is when there's good aspects of culture, right? What did Allah want us to do? لِتَعَارَفُوا. To come together, to meet each other, to learn from each other, and to take the good from each other. But then on the other hand, there is bad that comes. Right? Culture has some aspects that are bad. And those are the things that Islam teaches us that, hey, the final say is Islam. We got to leave it now. That's the part of the culture we got to leave. So this is a constant thing that we got to do for ourselves, that we got to evaluate. Hey, this is an aspect of my culture. Does this coexist with Islam? If it doesn't, then what's got to go?
So pick and choose.
Yeah, it's to pick and choose, but what are we picking and choosing from?
Yeah.
We obviously know that we're supposed to be doing, Islam is the defining thing. We are Muslim, we are part of that entity, and we can adopt the culture if it can coexist with Islam. But if it goes against the basic teachings of Islam, what Allah has prohibited us from doing, then that's something that we just gotta leave.
Do you have anything that maybe you see on like a day-to-day or just in your life where it is culture, but in terms of Islam, like it should not coexist, but it's something that we've rationalized by now?
Man, okay, one thing that I would start with is Hyderabadi culture. I'm Hyderabadi. I told you I was going to be here at 12 o'clock. I showed up at 12:30. I'll be honest. That's something that Hyderabadis are famous for, right? Like dragging. Desis are famous for that too, but Hyderabadis are like the known to drag. Have you guys heard the term Late Lateef? Literally, it's my name, Late Lateef, right? Late Lateef.
Wow.
I guess
That's
people,
actually
people are late. So, that's one thing. See, that's just one example of something wrong with our culture. That's something kind of internalized within us. We've kind of accepted that we're not going to be punctual. I'm the first to, be doing the mistake. But, I'll still admit it. That, this is one example. I could get to more examples and it's going to get a little more interesting. But, inshallah, we can go on.
Masani, you brought up like marriage, right? So this is another this is a question that I had. So culturally, right, we have or let's say Islamic. So Islamically, when you get married, right, you have the nikah, right? But like culturally, right, you have to have like the the rukhsati, right? That's that's something that's very and I've seen the baat baki, things like that, right? But specifically this I've seen this happen where it's just someone like close friends of mine, right? They got nikah, right? They're married, they're Islamically married, right?
Yeah.
But then culturally where you're seeing things from or people are calling from back home and things like that and saying why are they together? Why are they living in the same house? Why are they seeing each other or whatever it is? Because and without a rukhsati, right? They didn't have a rukhsati. They haven't had a formal function. No one's been there, like, why are they doing that? But at the end of the day, right, like, Islamically, you're married. So why should it be a question? Why is that even a thing, you know? Like,
I mean,
you would
kind of exactly what you said. Why is it a thing? Man, when it comes to marriage, dude, there are like 1,000 things that I could go over. And yeah, that's true. Like, you know, that period of, you know, the batpaki, right?
Yeah.
You could consider that like to be in the engagement, and then after the
Right.
batpaki, the nikah happens, right? And then nikah ruksati, you know, that's the typical thing that happens. First of all, there's no period of batpaki and to nikah. There's technically nothing. And one thing that I've noticed in society is changing, and this is honestly a little more common in the United States, is people are kind of doing a batpaki slash nikah these days, right?
Yeah.
Zoom
100%.
calls, man. I know
Yeah.
someone that literally got married over Zoom.
Yeah, dude. After the nikah, right? That's husband and wife now. That's their matters now. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's people do comment on that. Like I've seen that happen, you know, even in my own family. But at the end of the day, dude, it's I mean, husband and wife. That's it. Yes, there is a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to do a walima after,
Yeah.
which happens after the nikah. But again, that's as a sunnah. I'm not trying to take away from it the sunnah, but that's the decision of the husband and wife if they want to do that or not. They are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just make it very clear. They are halal for each other. They can stay together. They can be alone. They are husband and wife now.
Yeah, I'm like kind of following on that. So, in general, what you said is right about picking and choosing from Islam and making sure you prioritize Islam over culture. That's really hard to do in Western culture and like the world we live in today. There's so many pressures from the outside because not everyone is Muslim, right? A lot of people in your life aren't Muslim, or even the people that are, sometimes they weigh their culture over their religion. As far as like the struggles, how do we overcome the struggles, like the temptations of culture, right?
Yeah, I think Jamal's just trying to ask, how do you like avoid that sensation of fitting in? Like, I guess on a very extreme example, like Maz and I both work in accounting, and accounting is notorious for happy hours.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you get promoted, that's how you fit in, that's how you meet your coworkers, right? But me and Maz, like, we're not gonna go to the bar with you guys and have shots. Like, that's not what we're gonna do.
Right.
So obviously that's like the extremist of extreme. But what about like someone going through high school where something like vaping is becoming very popular? Like, that's what kids do now, and that's how they fit in. What advice would you give them on prioritizing Islam over like all these outside?
Western culture. That's like
Yeah.
coming up. Yeah.
Man, that's a pretty loaded question. I to be honest, I can't just straight up answer it, but I'll give you a little perspective from my life, and I feel like what defined me to, you know, love Islam so much and want to go study the Deen and things like that. You know, I went to public school as well. I never in my life went to a full-time madrasa except after high school. I mean, I did part-time like after school, things like that, you know, Saturday, Sunday school, whatever. But never did I go to full-time madrasa. But still, I always wanted to go because I think, I mean, at Lincoln Hall, we literally were like 20 Muslim dudes deep. Like, I don't know if you know about the Lincoln Hall crew.
I do not.
Like these guys, Ali Amin, Mikta, shout out all these guys, Rahil, Bilal Abbasi, Minhaj, Haji, all these guys. You know, Hamza. I could go on and on. Shout out all you guys. But you know, I think it played a big role. I think it played a big role because we would call each other out. We, like, for example, if we found out someone was talking to a girl, we'd be like, 20 of us would go and like embarrass that guy. Be like, you talking to a girl? What you up to, man? I'm gonna tell your mom. Like, you know, I remember, like, if someone like dared to even like we all sat at one table. Like, it was known that like you don't eat like the chicken from the cafeteria, you know. But if someone ate it, it was like gang mentality. Like, they gotta get a beating later. But I mean, so basically what I'm trying to get at. I mean, sorry, we don't like. I don't condone beating people up. But what I'm trying to say is I think it's environment, and that plays a big role. Alhamdulillah, the environment that we grew up in was such that we were surrounded by Islam. You know, we were in a non-Islamic environment, you can say. You know, we were surrounded by all these, you know, the fitna, things like that. And it's not like we were like exempt from it. Like, you know, we were a part of it as well. But I think, you know, especially, you know, Niles West too. You know, other than Lincoln Hall, we could say Niles West. How big was the QS group, right?
Huge. It's just the fact that you know as QS tells you like
Yeah.
how old it was.
Man, that was started by Azhar Osman, a comedian, back in 1989.
Hazir Usman, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, throwback.
Man,
Dude.
and do you? I mean, so Momosani, what do you think? Like, do you think that QS made a difference?
I think
size of it?
kept you accountable. You go through like the halls of Niles West or any like I wouldn't say like Niles West probably isn't as big as Maine South, but it's probably as big as Niles North was, right, Maz?
Yeah.
And you go through the halls, and I think the experiences when you're in something like QS or MSA or even like Oma at DePaul, you've got those group of friends around you that'll hold you accountable, right? Like when you're straying off, you're doing something you know you shouldn't be doing, whether you're doing it to fit in, whether it's because you're trying to like try something new, whatever excuse you're giving yourself, someone will call you out on it. So I think something like QS, Oma, MSA, that's the big purpose. Like, yeah, you learned, but you had that group of friends and you guys were all on the same playing field.
What is QS exactly?
Yeah. I was
It's
gonna ask.
basically MSA,
Oh.
but it just wasn't called MSA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quran study.
Quran
Dude, did I get it
study.
right? I was thinking
Yeah,
that.
it was,
Oh
it
my
was,
god,
it
that's
was, it
crazy.
was.
Quran study.
Wait, so okay, so those are all really good points, right? If you, like you have positive influences surrounding you,
Yeah.
which helps a lot. Now, put yourself in the situation. So, for example, I went to Maine South. I was with one other Muslim person in the whole school. So, and Maine South is known for being a school that doesn't do a lot of nice things. So, that being said, like when you don't have, the biggest tip that you'd probably give is just surround yourself with positive influences, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So, if you don't have that, and you're a youth, you're growing up, right? It could be a struggle. It could be a real big
Yeah.
temptation to not have like that wall to lean on. I mean, I just want to put that out there. Like it's hard, right? So
Yeah,
like
man.
we can't just say like don't do this, do that,
Yeah.
because it's hard as a youth growing up to want to be accepted and want to fit in and also maintain your Islamic values because there's so many emotions and personal thoughts there.
I think it's all really easy to say. And I'm going to bring up something you said about like that gang mentality. Because I feel like Muslims are notorious for that, right? Like you see someone doing something wrong, and instead of trying to teach them or like show them, like, hey, this is wrong, or show them a better path, we're all really quick to either judge or just berate them completely.
Oh.
And I know this is completely off topic, but I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons you see kids nowadays acting out more than usual, just out of the fact that you do something wrong, and maybe it would have been easier to just sit you down and explain it, but no, now we're all just attacking you. And I feel like that's drifting you further away from everything.
I'm not acting I never watched a Bollywood movie. I have. But I think Bollywood is pretty much poison for our society. Especially like coming from an Indian household where, you know, all those channels used to play on the TV from Dish and all that.
ZTV?
ZTV, Before You. All
Before
of
You
them,
was
man.
the thing, bro.
Yeah,
back in the
yeah,
day.
Before You. Man. No, but yeah, to be honest, I think it's horrible. Like, that's what I think.
So why is it horrible?
Man, I think that, I think that we're taught and some ideas about life in general. And, you know, like, for example, marriage. Marriage is one of the most
I need a cookie for this, bro.
yeah, no, for sure. I think marriage has gotten so crazy in the United States and in India, Pakistan. Man, there are so many aspects of like, you know, like all the dancing, all the music that we listen to. You know, marriage, let's be honest, is a Islamic engagement, correct? It's a Islamic ceremony, right? There's no other way around it. For example, mehendi. There's nothing wrong with a mehendi, but you know, put on some mehendi, do your thing. But then to blast the music and have like 3 different dance sessions, I mean, from the thing that I started at the beginning, you know, where do we draw the line?
So, all right, I don't know how Maz and Jamal are going to take this, but I'm going to flat out disagree with you. Mostly because I see Jamal getting ready to completely fry me.
No, I'm not. I'm curious. I really want to just listen.
All right, so like on the background of it, like if you know me, you know I'm not a big Bollywood guy. Like, you know the term coconut? I think my friends would definitely use that to describe me. Like, I am the vineyard vines of brown guys. Without a doubt, right? Embrace it. That's who you are. But for me, I feel like Bollywood is the same thing as Hollywood, right? You see, not in the aspect of like what you, like, obviously different stuff, but what you see, the only reason it's poison is because you apply it back to yourself. So I think a lot of it comes back to you. Like, can I watch a Shah Rukh Khan movie without feeling like I need to go dancing around for the girl of my dreams? Or can I watch it for what it's supposed to be, like the entertainment value of it?
I mean, again, it's not like I've never watched a movie, but I mean, I could talk more personally that man, how do I even bring it up? Like, for example, like I'm gonna be honest. Like at my older brother's wedding, there was a lot of that stuff, and you know, and man, where am I going with this?
All right, wait. So you like brought that up, right? Your older brother's wedding. There's a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And even though we clearly know, like from an Islamic perspective, it's not right.
Yeah.
But we still do it because of cultural ties, and it's really hard to go against your culture, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So like, how does?
Oh, okay.
What was your head like during that time, knowing that, right? Like, what's
Oh,
your perspective?
It was hurt. Okay, it's a common thing during the people of the Quraysh, who used to worship idols during the time of the Prophet ﷺ and right before, that they believed in Allah. That was one thing that they had. They all believed in Allah, but they were like, at the end of the day, it's the idols. We gotta, fulfill their rights first. They have certain rights, and we believe in Allah, but we're gonna fulfill these rights first. Now, I think you guys don't know where I'm going with this. That we believe in Allah, right? We believe in the religion.
But I'm still trying to watch some Shah Rukh Khan.
Man, but where's the priority, man? Where do we put the priority? Like, are we making our? I really think today's day and age, our idols is our culture. That's our version of our idols.
That is a take.
Wow,
That is a take.
something right there.
I mean, like Maz, talk to me from like your perspective, right? PSA, DePaul, just in general, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's like it's a Muslim organization at heart,
Right.
And it just embraces Pakistani values.
Correct.
In that sense, like, where do you see the line there?
I mean, again, so like for us, a lot of our events are all, there's dancing, there's music, there's, coordinated dances, there's food. It's it's more of like a social gathering. But again, like when it comes to, our Islamic values, we make sure that that's always top of the line, right? We're all Muslims that are on PSA board. And the majority of the people that come to all of our events are Muslim for the most part. So for us, it's just like, we don't even think in the sense that, this is a cultural thing. It's also, it's more so like, it's to bring people together. And again, I guess that in a way that is exactly what culture is to us, right? It's bringing people together. And, but I do definitely see the point that you're trying to get across, right? Like, Islam, you're not supposed to listen to music, all that things like that. But again, it's just like when you try to bring people together like that, that's the way I guess we just do it in the society today. And like, that's how
It's become
does it.
accepted.
And okay, please, Maz, I love you, bro. But that's what they said back in the day too. That this is our forefathers did it.
For the idols.
Our idols, they're worshiping. Abana, our people did it. Karte hue aaye, we were doing it before. We're gonna continue to do it. But I mean, not to hate on you, but I have a question. Do you at least realize it's wrong?
Damn.
I'm not saying I'm not questioning if you're gonna continue to do it or not.
All right,
I'm just saying, do you realize?
Before you answer, I'm gonna bring something back up. Give you a little bit of time since he put you on the spot. But I'm gonna bring it back to what we were talking about earlier about how, like, if you can bond with someone else, the whole discussion about QS and Ummah, right? You get that little friend group circle, and now you're on the right path at least, right?
I mean, wait, pause real quick. If we're gonna talk in that mindset, everything you do is wrong every single day. Like, a lot of things you do every single day is wrong. You just don't realize it because it's embedded in your culture.
Yeah.
Even at Ummah, even at QS,
All right.
even at MSA.
Fair,
We're going.
but my point is like
no. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, you get my point is like obviously like you get that common ground, right? I remember like we were in agreement that if you have friends around you, you're likely to stay, right? Like when McDowell tells you don't do something, you're more conscious that you shouldn't have done it, right? So I feel like that's why I don't think Bollywood is that bad. If I'm in a room with 100 brown people and 80 of us have some commonality about Bollywood, we can strike up a conversation, we can be friends, and then that leads to a different path, right? That might lead to us being friends and you keeping me on a better path. So I feel like in a lot of ways, like, yeah, okay, if you want to make the argument that it's evil, I'll make the argument that I'm taking the lesser of evils.
Oh.
Okay, I see what
Answer
you
my
mean.
question right there.
But what I'm trying to
you,
get
Miles.
at,
I'll bail you out
and
here.
you have a point there, and I'm not gonna lie, being the educational coordinator, I've never literally said it out loud, but there is a lot of stuff that we do that would not necessarily be the most Islamic of things. It might be against. But what I'm trying to say is, that thing, like, where, how are we going to define ourselves? What I'm just trying to say is when we're doing something wrong, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm saying let's at least admit it. Because that can be enough for Allah to forgive us. Because on the day of judgment, there's going to be a person who at least he was for us to just say that when we do something wrong, for us just to be like, yeah, what we did was wrong, that can be enough for Allah to take that bad deed and turn it into a good deed, and for it to benefit us.
So you were saying earlier about the Qawwali thing, right?
Yeah.
So then would you admit that that's wrong?
Yeah, I mean, see, it was, right, Qawwali was kind of prescribed for the people at that time because, they were crazy about bhajan, which was the Hinduistic culture of like dancing, the whole music thing. And the people were doing that. And, they told them, hey, like, how about you get off of this, but you kind of do this? It's Islam,
So lesser two evils, like what Masani said.
Yeah.
So then is there shame in doing that, though? I mean, even though you know what you're doing is wrong, but it's you can't really abolish, right?
Because I think it starts with you guys. I mean, honestly, like, see, alhamdulillah, you guys got this platform. Youth of MCC, right? Who gave you this platform?
Allah subhanahu
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I know, like, we do it a lot. And, I used to, like, we have this platform. Who says we're going to continue to have this platform? Like, for example, like, if coronavirus happened, like, that's the craziest black swan of the time, right? What I'm trying to say is things are temporary. How do we know it's going to last? What I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to bring it back to is the fact that, this is where it starts. I think that we need to start defining ourselves. Right? Those are my views, right?
Yeah.
We're in spring quarter. Did I even once bring up something at diploma? Like, no. I don't, because I mean, one, because to be honest, one thing is because I'm weak. I think I'm weak. I think I'm not strong enough. I don't have enough like knowledge and enough willpower to face the repercussions. But I still know. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, more or less, that if you see something wrong, stop it with your hands. If you can't stop it with your hands, say against it. If you can't say against it, then think bad about it in your heart. And when you think bad about it in your heart, you should know that is the lowest level of iman, more or less, right? The Prophet ﷺ said this. This is not to deter us, So we could at least start there, Let's say, hey, man, we might have low levels of iman, but, what we're going to do, we're going to try working on it. This is the case right now. We're saying that we're going to do the two lesser of evils. If the case is let's do the two lesser of evils right now, all right. But if we at least admit it, inshallah, a time will come where Allah will take us out of it.
Alhamdulillah, I think this was an amazing discussion, and we went super over on time, but I think it was worth it. I think a lot of awesome points were made here. Umar, thank you so much for joining us this week. Really appreciate it. And
hope to see you soon for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely be back.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, man.
And inshallah, we'll catch y'all next week. Assalamu alaikum.